Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today we're going to be talking about ICP because we're seeing a lot of really bullish news happening. Also, we've seen a lot of really bearish price action happening. So we're going to talk about both of those. We're kind of living in a tale of two worlds at this point in time, as it seems to me at least, which frankly I think this is the best of the alternatives, right? Because we're seeing depressed price, and what I'm seeing at least is very bullish news happening. And so this could potentially be a really strong arbitrage event to pick up on some discounted ICP while we are seeing some, in fact, really bullish news coming out. So I want to talk a little bit about that. Obviously, this is not financial advice, so you guys will need to make your own decision on kind of what you're thinking about and how you want to spend your own money. You may disagree with what I'm saying, you know, who knows for sure. But what I will say is I'm very excited with what we're seeing right now. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Before we do that, though, I did want to dive right into crypto bubbles, just because we can see really green on the day. This is kind of a nice little bounce, but don't be fooled. If we look at the week, things are still down really red. Even, you know, we can see ICP here down 20%, Cardano down 20%, Tau 18, Near 24, Caspa 20, Bonk 30, ETH 15. I mean, just kind of huge pullbacks kind of all across the board here. So even though we are seeing a little bit of a green day here, it's still net red overall. We did see a pretty nice chunk taken out of the crypto market. So we will look at the charts here in a second. We have seen a pretty strong rally back, but as we can see, the RSI heat map still sitting in basically on the edge of oversold, not as oversold as it was last night or maybe about a day ago when we were checking out this chart last. But what we can see is we are back in greed, which is kind of wild because we were just in low neutral, almost in fear yesterday. So the fact that we're back in greed, kind of crazy, but also at the same time, it does make a little bit of sense, right? I mean, Bitcoin's pushing 100K again. I don't know anybody who thinks that's bearish, right? I mean, that's overall pretty good. What we can see, those, liquidations about leveled out just because yesterday we saw the longs get absolutely trashed. Today we saw the shorts get trashed pretty hard. Obviously not too terrible. We can see here though, $552 million liquidated. The fact that that's down 75% on the day is just completely insane to me. Obviously we've seen some huge numbers getting moved through the market here, and obviously a bunch of people getting liquidated. Now, if we look at the ICP chart, obviously not going to be looking too pretty. So we'll zoom this out and kind of get a better look at what we're seeing here. Obviously, really huge wick down. If you would have caught the bottom, you'd have been seeing ICP down below $6, which is wild because that's actually below basically what we've seen all of 2024. So not necessarily the best news from that perspective, but it did get bought up pretty quickly. I'm a little bit sad. I would have liked to have bought some ICP down there, but I did miss that, unfortunately. We can see though, I mean, clearly broken out of this wedge, the consolidation type of structure that we were seeing, not really valid anymore. We are probably going to be looking to settle on kind of this high 8s level of support, at least from what we can tell right now. That seems to be kind of the most reasonable place that we do settle. From there, obviously, hopefully we do see another move back to the upside. But again, it's really hard to say for sure. We can see RSI sitting pretty close to oversold. We're pushing the bottom of the Bollinger Bands yet again. So this is something where, to me, it looks like it's a pretty good opportunity for potentially reversal, right? Maybe we come back down, we bounce off this level of support, and then we start to find some more footing up in this range. That would be ideal, and even ideally, we'd break this descending trend line that we have been fighting against basically since the beginning of December. So, definitely that would be nice to see a little bit of a breakout on that. But overall, I mean, not looking great on the chart, right? I mean, I don't think there's any other way to spin it than the price of ICP is just not really looking great at all. We can see it's basically given back almost all the gains that we have seen since the kind of the post-election pump. So probably one of the worst alts that we have seen in terms of selling pressure and kind of weak performance overall. If we go to a lot of the other altcoins, you'll see that they're performing much better. Again, keep in mind, I'm a huge ICP fan, so obviously I'm not particularly happy about it, but I'm also not going to lie or kind of blow smoke because it's just what it is, right? I mean, if we look at even Cardano, for example, we can see we've pulled back. We're starting to pull back kind of towards this about 50-ish% retracement value, which I think sounds about right for kind of most cryptos when they're looking to come back and consolidate. Still not even close to where they were kind of, pre-election. So, and I would say this is kind of the story for a lot of things. I mean, we could go through Solana, we could go through XRP. Solana actually might be close just because Solana hasn't performed particularly well. But I mean, there's a lot of hbar is doing particularly well, things like that. It's just ICP is definitely struggled. If we look at price, not particularly doing too well. But in my opinion, I actually do kind of view this more as an opportunity just because I'm very happy with what we're seeing out of ICP kind of in all things otherwise than price, right? And so if you are looking to trade ICP, Ethereum, Bitcoin, whatever, obviously we've seen a ton of volatility lately. So if you're looking to get in on that, I do have that 10% bonus on first time deposits with BTCC, link in the description below if you are interested. Extra bonuses up to $10,055 per user. So they're basically chucking a whole bunch of money at you if you are looking for a new place to trade. And then no VPN or KYC necessary if that is something that's important to you. So like I said, just check the link in the description if you are looking to trade. Right now, I would say, leverage probably not a great idea, but if you are looking to build your spot bags and would like 10% extra to build your spot bags, seems like a good deal to me, So obviously, do your own research, not financial advice, all that good type of stuff. But I've been really happy working with BTCC. I've been working with them for the past probably 3 months or so. I've had a lot of positive comments and feedback coming from people who've signed up on BTCC. The software and the system works pretty well. And also, I love the fact that they are giving, my audience a really actually pretty compelling bonus, if you ask me. So I like that. But anyway, moving on, I want to get back into Twitter, or I guess the Twitterverse, the Xverse, whatever we're going to be calling it nowadays. And I want to show you a couple of different things because one, we can see some kind of broad market stuff that is signaling some fairly interesting shifts that I was not really quite expecting. And then we've got a whole ton of really, really bullish ICP news. So we're going to be talking about that here in a second as well. What we can see, ETF flows, about 2,400 Bitcoin were sold and about 29,000 ETH were bought on February 3rd, which was today in the day of all this like crazy mass liquidations and all that type of stuff. Bitcoin ETFs saw about 234 million in net outflows, and ETH ETFs saw about 83 to 84 million in net inflows. This is good. This is good overall, right? ETH, I would say, has been kind of wholly underwhelming in terms of what we've seen out of the ETFs from them. Bitcoin, 234 million is a decent chunk, but not a ton. That's not particularly too concerning. I'm a little bit surprised that we did see that level of outflow. I'm wondering if it was some of these more institutional or traditional investors that were getting a little bit afraid with some of the tariffs and some of that stuff that's going on, and that's why we saw such a large amount of outflows. Ethereum, though, on a crazy day like that, a super volatile day, seeing this much flowing into ETH, it does kind of beg the question that we may be looking at an alt season here potentially pretty soon. So something that is definitely not like, this is definitely out of the normal. So just kind of take a close look at that. I'm not saying that this is indicative of an alt season. Obviously, I have no idea or any way to tell the future for certain, but this is definitely not normal. And so I'm just keeping a pretty close eye on that. I will say during this dip, I did actually spend a decent chunk of money buying alts. I had a whole bunch in stables, and so I allocated a lot of those, and I also allocated a little bit more into the crypto market. I picked up a ton of ICP. Some of you guys may be giving me a hard time for that just because there are their fair share of ICP haters around here. But I also bought a decent chunk of both Ethereum and Solana as well, in addition to Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's Bitcoin. But yeah, so far I'm pretty pleased with all the purchases I've made so far, and I think I'm green on all of them. So that's good news. Moving on, though, I want to talk a little bit more about kind of some ICP first and ICP forward news, because what we are seeing here is we are seeing that Charles Hoskinson basically says collaboration with ICP and Dominic Williams is possible. ICP is one of the best candidates for Wyoming. There's a lot of good people and great scientists in that ecosystem. Really, really big news. We kind of alluded to this a couple days ago when we did release that hbar video talking about ICP. Seeing something like this, I think, would be unbelievably bullish, kind of for everybody, right? I think this would be a good thing for hbar. I think this would be a fantastic thing for ICP, and I think it'd be a really good thing for Cardano as well. I don't think Cardano throwing their lot in with ICP or hbar technically makes like a good thing in and of itself. I think it's a really good thing for hbar and ICP, but I think the good thing for Cardano is that they would understand, or I think they are understanding, the fact that like ICP's chain fusion and the ability to build on Bitcoin exists today on ICP, right? And so if they move to ICP, then their time to market is much, much quicker, and it gives them essentially an edge ahead of everybody else developing on Bitcoin. Or even we can see like hbar's moved over, right? If you're not moving over to ICP, hbar is going to get ahead because they're using technology that already exists while you're trying to develop it. So this is really, really good news. This is something that I was wondering about, because Charles Hoskinson has said very, very loudly and very, very publicly that he wants to be building on Bitcoin, and that he has this intention of essentially going to Bitcoin Vegas and announcing that they're building on Bitcoin, all this type of stuff. I was a little bit, especially given some of Cardano's previous timelines, I was a little bit confused how they were going to hit that timeline. I think an integration or a partnership with ICP, completely makes that possible. So really, really interesting stuff here. I would say keep a very close eye on this. This is huge news overall. Actually, I will like and repost all of these just in case you want to check them out. I do have my X link in the description if you are looking to check these out and kind of get it straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. You can go there and find my X account there. Check me out, give me a follow, give me a like. I am trying a little bit harder to grow my X account as well recently, so if that's something you want to check out, just go on ahead and look over there. Next one, we can see, again, more building in the Bitcoin ecosystem. On what? ICP, go figure, right? So we can see here a Bitcoin meme launcher called Odin Fund. This is essentially it's basically the same thing as Pump.Fund, but it's on Bitcoin. And you can see it just went live today. I think this is actually yesterday. Actually, just today, about 12 hours ago. We can see, similar to Pump.Fund, you can now create and trade Bitcoin memes in 2 seconds. Super, super quick, super easy, pretty clean. I've been kind of predicting like a Bitcoin meme cycle for a while now. This is something that could potentially allow that. And of course, as I already mentioned, powered by ICP's Chain Fusion. This, I think, is going to become a very, very common recurrence that we're seeing here. The TAP protocol is, I think, kind of the initial one on Bitcoin that adopted ICP. And I think a lot of people are seeing what TAP has been able to do in such a short amount of time that people are really starting to take notice. Again, I don't know if that's what kind of drove the hbar thing. I think the hbar thing might be what drives Cardano potentially. It could just be kind of one of those, kind of those domino effects where it's like, in order to be competitive, time to market is everything, right? And so if you're slow and you lose market share because you're trying to develop your own product or whatever, well, you're probably going to be left behind, right? And so I think we could see potentially this critical mass of things really, really shifting towards essentially adopting Chain Fusion on ICP. Because if they do that, the whole like bridging issues is effectively solved. Unlocking liquidity on Bitcoin, which I've been yammering on about for like months and months now, like this all becomes possible, right? And so this to me is what's really exciting and what we're seeing about ICP here. And I think people are kind of starting to figure it out. And so this is why I'm so excited. You could probably tell in my voice, but this is why I'm so excited about where we're sitting at with ICP right now, is because not only is all of this happening, all of this stuff is posted today. So not only is all of this happening, but we're seeing lows that like we hadn't seen in all of 2024. Like, who's making this stuff up? I mean, this is crazy. So I think hopefully it's fairly clear to you, at least my rationale as to why I went a little heavy, maybe possibly a little heavier than I should have on ICP. But, I believe in it. I think we're seeing a lot of really, really interesting things line up. And with that, again, yet another partnership for ICP. Really, really good to see here. I'm super happy with this function land. Obviously, not like an hbar, Cardano, something like that, but still, I mean, a very strong, reputable project that's building on ICP. We can see 109, almost 110,000 followers, crowd storage, store to earn, all this type of stuff. We know ICP can do it. So the fact that they're working with ICP to kind of unlock some of the technology, amazing news, right? And so overall, we went through a lot of different like posts today. I mean, frankly, today, given how horribly the chart performed, we saw some amazing news coming through for ICP. So I personally am very, very happy with what we're seeing. Hopefully you are as well. Also, hopefully you found the information in this video useful. If you did, please do give me a like and a subscribe because it really, really does help me out. Also, if you have any comments, please just drop them in the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to all of those. And I'm also really interested to hear, like, what's your guys' take on ICP? Are you still ICP haters? Do you think price wins out over everything? Do you have any sort of like, what's your take with all this news? I mean, in my opinion, this is fundamentally bullish news. I think this is a very, very obvious mismatch in the market. Again, from my perspective, I could always be wrong, but this is just something where I don't know how you ignore the fundamental data, and I don't know how price like diverges from the like fundamentals of the project for too long, right? Obviously, I feel like it's diverged and it's maybe increasingly diverging at this point right now, but that's got to come back to center at least at some point in time. That's kind of the bet I'm taking. Obviously, you need to do your own research, come to your own conclusions and make your own bet accordingly. But yeah, I'm very, very pleased with what we're seeing here. So anyway, like I said, just drop a comment. I'd really be interested to know kind of what your thoughts are on this. And also thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.